So the front part of the video is going to be a wild ride because I'm actually going to take more time to address the problems of Saileach as compared to what she's good at. The reason is that Saileach plays very similar roles in a lot of her skills compared to other people who are very popularly used. So you can already see the point of discussion right in front of the screen, where we have to compare her against the other flag bearers. The first thing to look at is the skill 1s. Myrtle's skill 1 at M3 has a 22 SP requirement while only recovering 14 DP, whereas for Elysium at M3, it's got a 26 SP requirement, much bigger, but it does give more DP at 18. And then, the surprising thing for you to hear is that Saileach's skill 1 does not offer more DP, it's also 18 like Elysium. While mine isn't at M3, if you were to M3 Saileach, she has exactly the same skill as an Elysium. So now it comes to the question of, do you even need to build Saileach on her skill 1? Considering that Myrtle and Elysium are a lot easier to get, and especially at full potential as well, as compared to a Saileach, I wouldn't advise for you to build Masteries onto Saileach skill 1. Of course you can do it skill rank 7 because it applies to all her skills, but Masteries isn't that worth it when you consider that someone like Myrtle at M3 for skill 1 is going to be so much cheaper than doing it for a 6 star, which is probably going to need like tier 5 materials in order to get a skill that you might not use all that often. If you really want two powerful standard bearers that generates a huge ton of DP, then Myrtle and Elysium are the one to go to. Saileach skill 1, I would suggest to avoid unless you're a sim for her and you really want it. The next issue I have is with Saileach's second talent, where it reads that after deployment, the next operator has minus 2 DP cost, only applying to one operator. If you look at the DP cost of Saileach, it's 12. If it was full potential, it would have been 10, but like I said, it's pretty hard to get that. And then you compare it to someone like Myrtle, where you would easily have her at full potential, and she only costs 8 DP. Essentially, deploying a Myrtle is so much cheaper than putting a Saileach in, and you could be saving 4 deployment costs just by deploying a Myrtle instead. So hence, I don't really understand the impact of Saileach's second talent, and if you compare it to someone like Elysium, where his talent reads that all sniper operators have minus 2 DP costs instead of only the next operator, this makes the sniper synergy so much better, and it's so much more cost saving as compared to a Saileach. Hence, I'm just really not a fan of Saileach's second talent. I'm not done with problems yet, we're actually going to move on to Saileach skill 2, where it reads, stops attacking and generates a total of 20 DP over the skill duration, throws the banner to the location of the allied unit with the lowest HP, granting them additional defense and also healing them over time. When the skill ends, retrieve the banner. Now I'm not going to talk about the banner all that much because this is actually the redeeming factor for Saileach, but since we're only focusing on the negatives, let's talk about the skill 2. If you read it, it sounds very similar to Myrtle's skill 2, where it's also healing allies over time and generating an amount of DP. The only difference is that it's giving more DP over here and also a defense buff. But the problem here is that you don't typically use either of their skill 2s. The only time that you might pick up a Myrtle skill 2, for example, is if let's say you're playing something like IS2, where you don't have a medic ticket or a defender ticket, and then your only option as a healing source could be a Vanguard, and that's why you might want to take a Myrtle or even a Saileach. Saileach's skill 2 also doesn't provide like an AoE heal. Only one person who is receiving the banner will get healed, which I didn't really enjoy. I thought if it was a 6 star, it would have been better if the banner worked like a silence drone, but it's only one unit, and this defense buff isn't that significant as well. If you M3 it, I believe it goes all the way up to 50%, but even a 50% buff on someone who has maybe 1000 defense, they're only going to receive an additional 500 defense, which isn't that significant to enjoy in a lot of the stages. So hence, I'm not a fan of this skill. I really don't know when I can tell you it's a good use case, apart from the special game modes that might need you to actually experience it. And I wouldn't suggest entering it at all. The benefit only just drops the SP cost from 32 to 29, and then only a little bit bigger healing, which I'd rather you build a Myrtle rather than a Saileach. Okay, finally, we're at the point where I can talk about the good stuff of Saileach, which is only going to be on her skill 3. It reads that she stops attacking and immediately gains 10 DP, throws the banner to the location of ground enemies, dealing 300% physical damage, which is going to be about 1500 physical damage of a bomb, and then stuns them for 3.5 seconds. Enemies within the surrounding 8 tiles of the banner will be slowed, and they will also receive a 30% fragile effect, meaning they'll receive 30% more damage, whether it's physical, arts, or true damage, depending on what operators you're using to attack these enemies. When the skill ends, she retrieves the banner. So it's time to read her first talent, which it says that she deploys with a banner. within the surrounding 8 tiles of the banner, allied units will be attacking 10% faster, and enemies will be attacking 10% slower. So let's see this skill in action. So I'm going to display Saileach in the stage of DHS2. Should be a very familiar stage because it's a horrifying one from Dorsel's Holiday. So I place Saileach right over here, facing upwards, and we're going to use a skill to just stun the enemies and also slow them down, so that it gives me enough time to place a Gavial Altar along with a Saria just right behind. So her skill tree is really nice and fast. The moment that I click onto it, it will give me a sweet 10 DP. And I can then place my Blaze. I want to feed all of my operators the bubble machines that they deserve. Just like that. And then just one more bubble machine. Okay. So here's a concept to understand about Gavial. No, not Gavial, but Saileach. We're not doing a Gavial display here. So you see this dog worker boat coming in. Now if I were to drop Saileach's flag, would it drop on the divers or the dog workers? So get your answers in, and let's turn on her skill, and plonk, it drops onto the blue boat. So the reason for this is that her flag will prioritize enemies that are closest to the blue box. So since the dog worker is closest to the blue box as you see there, that's why they are getting smacked with the flag. So I can plonk the flag down so that it deals the physical damage, and it also increases the damage that the dog worker receives from Gavial Altar. I'm just going to wait for the wave to just pop up, because that will help me to get rid of the dog workers very easily. And then there's going to be quite a few boats coming in. So I'm going to use Gavial Altar skill to deal with them, but at the same time I'll also get Saileach to increase the damage that they receive from Gavial Altar. So let's just drop the flag down, stun the enemies, and then get Gavial to just grind all of them down. As easy as that. Beautiful stuff. There's gonna be one more little boat, but not to worry. Gavial is gonna just hold them out. And if let's say she's receiving a lot of damage, I can just do a bit of a stun so that she doesn't keep getting continuously smacked by the dog worker. So Saria's here is trying to keep up. And then we're also waiting for Gavial's skill to just pop. But eventually it will. And then I can get Saileach's skill again to again increase the damage. So interesting way of using Saileach, where you can see her buffing, not really buffing, but placing a flag on her left first, and then afterwards in front of her. Now the next stage I'm going to look at is R810. I've placed Myrtle at the typical standard bearer spot, where it's closer to the blue box, far away from the enemies. You can see that Taunts is pretty much struggling with the enemies here, and then he's going to leak this 2 blocking guy. And then there's also an Imperial Striker coming in, and he's going to struggle against that, probably get smacked to death, and then that's pretty much the end of the stage. So let's compare to bringing a Saileach into the stage. So I'm going to redo this stage with a Saileach this time. And remember that Saileach's talent states that she deploys with a banner, and the allies within the surrounding 8 tiles will have 10% increase in ASPD. So instead of placing Saileach at where Myrtle was, I will put Saileach a little bit more closer to the battlefield, right where Taunts is going to be deployed. So let me place the blocks as necessary. And then once Saileach's skill is up, I'll get the 10 DP, and then deploy my Taunts. You're going to see Taunts attack a little bit faster than usual, even though his infinite skill is not turned on yet. Okay, I'm going to skip this part and go to the more interesting stuff. Alright, we're back to this point of the stage. So what I'm going to do is I'll do a preemptive firing of the banner so that it slows down all the enemies, and then Taunts is able to take down the 2 block enemy that was leaking just now. And then we've got the Imperial Strikers coming in. So the great thing about Saileach's skill 3 is that it's a really fast repeating skill. So just as the Imperial Striker is like gonna have an attack boost, I'm gonna throw down the banner so that he gets stunned, and then all the other enemies behind are getting slowed as well. Right, beautiful stuff right now. Got another Imperial Striker coming in. I'm gonna do a bit of interesting maneuvering. So this guy is gonna smack for a huge attack. As you see, Taunts is struggling there. I'm gonna remove this block, and then just switch the direction of the Imperial Strikers. Now the 2 block enemy is coming in, and Taunts is just dealing with whatever he can. And then I'm gonna switch the direction of the Imperial Striker again. And then with that, now Taunts is able to self-heal a little bit, and then I just need to deal with this guy by giving Taunts a little bit of a boost, So we'll drop Saileach's flag in. And then he's gonna get the fragile effect, and there you go. R810 done with just a Saileach and a Taunts. So with that repetitiveness of just a 20 SP skill, you can see how Saileach can be a really good operator in quite a few stages. So as I close to this video, you can see the power of Saileach skill 3. The fact that you've got a repetitive stun that happens, a decent physical damage bomb, and a nice slowing effect along with a damage boost. Skill 3 is really the bread and butter for Saileach, whereas for the other skills, you can see how you won't really use them all that much. Saileach skill 3 is pretty indispensable. So when it comes to building a Saileach, if you're not going to elite to her immediately, then I don't suggest putting any building materials onto her. Don't even elite 1 her, don't even give her any levels at elite 0. Only at the point where you're ready to elite to her to experience her skill 3 do you end up building a Saileach. Then, when you've tried out skill 3 for a bunch of times, you can consider for yourself whether or not you want to mastery 3 her skill in order to add it into your gameplay. Saileach was an operator that I required to use in order to achieve my first ever max race in CC7 Pine Suit. So I'm definitely very grateful for her, and I still do take her into stages from time to time because her skill 3 is just so easy to use. If not, I hope you've learned quite a bit about Saileach and that you've enjoyed this video. Take care everyone, see you!